Whenever you're ready.
All right. Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Paris. I am a co-chair of the Special Interest Group for Contributor Experience. I am going to jam a lot of information down right now. What we're doing is going around to all of the SIGs and a lot of the working groups too, which is 40 at this point, and really just trying to establish some grounds between the SIGs and kind of like what we do in contributor experience, and hopefully engage you in other ways that we have not before. So I'm just going to get right into it. So first things first, one of the main missions that we have this year is really driving organizational around automation, workflow, and process for contributors. Org-wide is really important for us because we want all of our contributors to have the same experience across repos. We're coming to find that a lot of people are contributing to multiple repos, which could be problematic if people are using different commands for different things, or different meanings, or workflows are different, etc. So what we're doing is trying to figure out how we can better define these labels and really keep things consistent. So in the agenda that I have today, there are several different links in there. I don't necessarily need any feedback right now by any means, but just feel free to give us feedback at any time about this stuff. Especially, again, how you're using certain workflows and things like bots and how you're doing issue triage. One of the things, so that leads me into issue triage, which is something we've also been working on as far as guidelines are concerned. We have taken a stab at what we think is the best guidelines, and we wanted to see what the thoughts were on applying these guidelines across all of the Kubernetes GitHub repositories. So if you could just take a look at that at a later time and possibly give us some feedback, that's fine. Silence just means that you're on board. And really, how do you find out about these changes? Because these changes are, again, affecting all of our contributors. So in our charter, we've actually laid out our communication policy and how we're communicating with everyone. So first, we're going to be lazy. We're going to participate in a lazy consensus with a time box of at least 72 hours to the following mailing lists with a GitHub issue link when possible, with the subject of notice. And we're going to that's the contributor experience mailing list, that's the SIG leads mailing list, and that's also Kubernetes dev. When we can, if things do impact certain groups, we will of course reach out to very specific groups that we know that could be very heavily impacted by the change. And then of course we'll also announce it during the Thursday community meeting. Speaking of charters, we have completed ours. I'm not too sure what the status is for scheduling, but if you need any help with that, we're happy to provide any help or assistance or feedback or anything like that before you have the steering committee look at it. And then we've also started to list out what projects we're working on as well. We know this isn't a great way for us to project manage necessarily, but we just wanted to kind of start getting the stuff in our heads down on paper in a more professional way. So we do have a list of our projects that we're working on too, and would love to hear feedback as to what you're excited about, or maybe other projects that you think contributor experience should work on. So we also have a new version of a contributor guide. So I'd love for you to poke holes in that, take a look at it. Does it differ from the way that people contribute to SIG scheduling? And please help us out also with the developer guide. That portion is coming. That's going to be a part of the contributor guide. And the issue in the agenda is linked in there. Feel free to add your comments to the issue. And also the contributor experience deep dive at KubeCon in Copenhagen is actually going to start attacking this issue. And we're going to do sort of a live process of feedback and try to get a large part of the developer guide done during that deep dive. So next section, and then we're actually almost done, which is mentoring. We have a ton of programs that we spun up to address many, many different use cases. And all of the things that we've developed take your time into consideration, as well as the time of the mentee. That's very important to us because we know time's the #1 barrier here. I mean, if we all had the time, we'd mentor, hundreds of people, right? But no, we know that we can't. So we've taken care of some of those roadblockers. So for instance, now we do a monthly web series for Mentors on Demand. It's a Meet Our Contributors. People ask questions from things like, how did you get involved in Kubernetes? What SIG do I join? All the way to, why is my test failing? How do I know when my test's failing, etc. This is a great thing for scheduling to be a part of. And you can advertise for your group there, etc. And then I'm going to jump down to group mentoring. This is a concept where I think we could really scale with, and this is for all contributor ladders. We ran a test cohort of current members of the org to get them to reviewership and owners files, and it worked out really, really well. And it's based off of peer mentoring, and we set up different communication platforms, and we do a 4 mentees to 1 mentor. And since it's a group, the peers offset the time burden for the mentor. And with the usage of Slack and other tools, it makes it much easier on the mentor to balance that out. This would be really good for scheduling if you're looking for a certain type of contributor, and maybe you already have a pool that might be at a rung lower, or you have people that are exuding energy and competency in an area, but could use some further finesse to get to that next level. And then now we have this thing called a buddy program, which is actually, I'm going to change that live. We now have a name for it. The name is the one-on-one hour. This is the closest thing to traditional mentoring that we have. A lot of people come to us and say, can you just pair me with someone immediately? I really need some help. But that is really, really time consuming. Traditional mentoring. You have to set up goals with people. You meet every so often. This is taking a lot of that out. This is a one-time, 1-hour commitment with either someone that is your peer that's been in the project longer, or someone that is a higher level than you. And you can do whatever you'd like with that individual, whether it's pair programming, whether it's a tour of the code base, whether it's I'm a reviewer, how do I be an approver session? It's really anything. And there's a form that you fill out, and then we match based on that, and we send different calendar invites. So we also do Google Summer of Code as well as Outreachy. If you're thinking of Kubernetes, they're sort of like the hosted cloud provider because they're coming with infrastructure. They're both third-party programs that we participate in, and both of them are already underway. So I'm actually not going to talk about them right now, but feel free to click any of the links in the doc. And then almost last but not least is Slack maintenance. We are onboarding a ton of people, thousands by the month at this point. So just a quick note to maybe pin some docs to your Slack channels, like your charter, Slack guidelines, meeting notes, anything that would help people onboard and find out a little bit more about your SIG easily. That's just a tip. That's not, a mandate. That's just from what I see as a Slack admin that really helps out with that. And then, of course, we do have user office hours as well, and we're always looking for folks to help out with that and just answer calls, not calls, oh my gosh, that's so old school, answer questions that come through from Stack Overflow and Slack and places like that. And George Castro with Heptio runs that. And that's really it. Feedback, like I said, feedback for us. How can we help you? You all are awesome, wonderful contributors. And that's really it for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Paris. I'll be in touch with you to prepare our charter because we haven't done much really in that area. We have some plans and scheduled for our future projects, but in terms of charter, we don't have anything yet. So I'll be in touch with you, and I'll help to prepare that document.
For sure, let's catch up. Thanks, Bobby, for the time. Hi, Claus. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Paris. All right. So I guess we can go to our agenda. So Klaus, I Yes. Do you want to give us a demo of Kube Arbitrator and gang scheduling?
Yes, I think Joe would like to have some demo here, and yeah.
Okay, I will show the demo.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I will show two demos. One is scheduling of queue job, and the other is pod or task priority scheduling. I will use two videos to show the demo because my network is not very stable. And now we can see the first video will show GAN scheduling.
Do we still have you, or I don't see your
Oh, okay. Let's continue. Now we can see that here is the details of the cluster, and there are 32 CPUs in the cluster, and I will create a pod first to occupy all the cluster resources, and then I will create two queue jobs. Now we can see that the first queue job has two pods, and each pod requests 7 CPUs, and the second queue job contains 3 pods, and each pod also requests 7 CPUs. So totally the cluster could run 5 pods. Now we can see that I create a pod named pod large to reserve all the resource, and then I will start the Kube arbitrator to create a pod for the 2 queue jobs, and then delete the pod large to release resource. So then Kube arbitrator could schedule the 2 queue jobs. Now we can see that there are 5 pods are in pending status. 2 pods from the queue job 01, and 3 pods from queue job 02. Now after terminating the pod large, the Kube batch D will schedule the pod from the 2 queue jobs. And now we can see that 2 pods from the first queue job are running, and the 3 jobs from the second queue job all are pending in pending status. Even if the cluster left some resource, could run some pod. Now we can see that there 14 CPUs are used in the cluster, and 18 CPUs are left, but this resource could not run the 3 pod from the second queue job. So Kube arbitrator will not schedule any pod from the second queue job. Okay, this is the behavior of GAN scheduling. Any questions?
Sounds good. So thank you for the demo. One quick question: how do you so basically how do you specify that these are supposed to be gang scheduled? Is it the fact that the type is queue job that implies that these should be scheduled all together?
Yes, for now we use the check the type of queue job.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you. Do you have a second demo?
Okay, I will show another demo about the pod priority.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm sorry, you might have covered it earlier, but I have a question. What would happen if one of the pods would fail? Say, while gang scheduling, if one of the pods fail to come up, will all the rest of the pods will go back to pending state, or in first place the scheduling itself won't happen?
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
I think if one pod of a queue job is failed, and the whole queue job should be terminated. But currently, I think this feature is not implemented yet. Yeah.
Some more input here is that for queue job there are two cases. Now the first one is something like an MPI job. If one of task is terminated, the whole job should be queue and recreate. And the other kind of job is something like Spark. For example, if one of Spark executor is terminated, it doesn't need we don't have to rerun the whole job. So by default, we will handle the first one in our default implementation. But we also provide the interface for the user to build their customized queue job controller, so they can decide whether the whole job is queued or it just they can just rerun rerun the failed task.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Since we're already over time, please go ahead and show us the second demo, and then we can wrap up.
Yeah.
Okay. Now here's the other cluster, and there are 16 CPUs in the cluster, and I created two priority class. And first is high priority, and the second is low priority. And I cannot set a different priority for pod in the same job. So I define Kubernetes CRD, its name priority queue to show the demo, and I just implement a simple priority queue controller to create pod for the priority queue. Now we can see that I defined a priority queue, and it contains 7 pods. And after I created the priority queue, my simple priority controller will create a 7 pod for the priority queue, and we can see that some pod with low priority and some pod with high priority, and after the scheduling is done, we can see that all the pod with high priority are running, and some pod with low priority are running because of the cluster resource is not enough. And if there is no priority scheduling, I think some high priority pod will be running, and some pod with low priority pod will be running. And but with priority scheduling, all high priority pod will run before the low priority pod. That's all.
All right, thank you. So I'm not so sure about the latter feature. Basically, this new priority queue seems to be something that we already have in default scheduler these days. Am I right, or this has a special feature that we don't have?
Yeah, I think this is a kind of integration with the gun scheduling as the priority feature. Yes, for the pod within a queue job, we need to make sure the high priority start first.
Oh, I see. Yes. So basically, you need to somehow replicate the same behavior that priority and preemption in default scheduler has in arbitrary. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sounds good. All right. So you're already okay. So
one question, Bobby. So actually, from class, well, how do you prevent starvation in the GAN scheduling?
For the starvation part, I think there may be there are several cases and several ways to handle the at least some case in the gun scheduling design document, but this is not finished yet. Yes, for current stage, if we will try to meet the high priority queue job firstly, at least. This is the one case for this one. But you know, their resource fragment is a really complex issue for the such kind of batch job. So I think we don't. This is really hard to resolve totally, but we will try to do that. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Is there any other questions? All right. We are already over time, so until next week, when we have our next SIG meeting. For now, bye.
Okay.